Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Free Advice Friday. Excited to be back with you after several weeks of not being able to do anything. Look, is it just me, or is this year's seasonal plague been particularly plaguey? Like, honestly, I feel like I have had maybe two total healthy weeks since December. And that's not even like 2 weeks all at the same time. It's like a couple days here, then I'm sick again, couple days here, then I'm sick again. It's like, for crying out loud, it's been freaking brutal, which has been one of the reasons why I have not been able to do Free Advice Friday as frequently as I would like. But here we are today. For those of you who are not at VO Atlanta, and I'm sure that there are a few of you who are not doing VO Atlanta this year, why should we be left out? Why should we be sitting at home on our own, suffering from a little bit of FOMO and all of that sort of stuff? So here we are. We are ready to go live for Free Advice Friday. I got to tell you, a few weeks ago, I taught a session, and it was about 2026 marketing trends. And if you missed the session, it was fantastic. I absolutely recommend that you go back and check out that session. It's available at VOpreneur.com. But within that session, I gave about a dozen different marketing trends that I see where things are shifting for 2026. Important things that voice actors need to pay attention to because, you've seen this with your reads, right? What worked in your reads a couple years ago, not necessarily what's booking today. What worked in your reads even last year, not necessarily what is booking today. And so we always have to be paying attention to where the trends are going from a performance standpoint, but that is equally true from a marketing standpoint. Things are changing in email, things are changing in social media, and we need to be staying on top of all of those things. I'm not going to give you all of the information, obviously, that I gave in that class. But like I said, if you want to check out that class, it's at VOpreneur.com. But there is one in particular that I want to tap into. And I think that it needs to be talked about because I think it's one that people aren't paying enough attention to, and it could cost you. I get, on average, probably 3 to 6 spam emails a week for voiceover opportunities. And scam, right? The scam emails. And we've all seen them. Some of us have gotten invited to the same ones. And the one common denominator across the board with every single one of the voiceover scam emails that I am receiving is that they come from a Gmail address. Every single time they come from a Gmail address. This is something that is going to continue to get worse. And the reason why I bring this up is because if you are using a Gmail address for your voiceover marketing, and I know there are a lot of voice actors that are using Gmail addresses. If you are using a Gmail address for your voiceover marketing, you have to change that now. You have to register a domain. Or if you already have your domain registered, you have to set up an email address at the domain. I have become almost immediately passive and skeptical of any email that I receive from Gmail at this point, because it's not just the voiceover scams that are coming from generic email addresses. All the scam things that I get are coming from generic Gmail addresses. It's because they're easy to set up for free, and it's easy to use AI tools to automate this stuff to just blitz out all of these emails to everyone. It is becoming a growing problem. For a long time, everybody used Gmail because it was trusted, because it had domain authority behind it. And it's not that those things are no longer true. But what is happening is because of how easy it is to set up a free Gmail address, and because of the sheer volume of scam emails that are now being sent from those Gmail addresses, it's making people immediately suspicious if a Gmail email address lands in their inbox. So if you have not set up your own domain email, marc@marcscottvoiceover.com, you've got to do it. You absolutely have to do it. Now, if you want to keep your Gmail address and use it for things like signing up for newsletters or whatnot, that's fine. But if you are going to be doing direct outbound marketing, that is, you're going to find a lead, You're going to write an email to them. You're going to try to nurture a relationship with them. You almost have to have a domain email now. And in fact, I think you do have to have a domain email. There are so many things that are playing against us on the email marketing side, but there are certain little things that we can do along the way to tip the odds in our favor. And that is one of the things that you can do to tip the odds in your favor. And so if you haven't done it yet, now is the time to do it. I use Google Workspace. I have been using Google Workspace forever. My email, marc@marcscottvoiceover.com, is actually hosted through Google Workspace. I log into Gmail to use it, and it's flawless, seamless, and it works amazing. So for whatever that is, $10 a month or whatever it costs you, it's a very small price to pay to get that little bit of extra confidence to know that your emails have a higher probability of going through. I got an invitation today through Voice123 from the Voice123 messaging system. Oops, hit the wrong button. And in that email, there was a direct invitation to audition for a project, and I got all excited because it was a documentary project. I was like, yay, I finally got my first documentary project. And it said, they messaged me through the Voice123 system, but they wanted me to communicate with them through a Gmail address, which immediately set off a red flag for me. Some of the language in the email was a little bit, which also set off a red flag for me. I did a search for this person's name, couldn't find a single thing anywhere on the entire internet with this person's name. Did a search for this person's email address, couldn't find anything anywhere on the entire internet under this email address. The profile on Voice123 had only been set up yesterday, which also made me suspicious. But again, it comes back to having that generic @gmail.com address. And this is not meant to knock on Gmail. And I think that the service is obviously valuable. It's just, this is one of the shifts that has happened in the marketplace, courtesy of AI, making it so much easier to scam and do it bulk at scale. So for that reason alone, now is the time. If you have not done it yet, now is the time. If you are getting ready to put a big marketing push on this year, if you're going to join my 100 leads challenge here in a couple of weeks and participate in that, and now you've got 100 leads that you're ready to start doing that email marketing to, don't do it unless you have a domain-based email at your own personalized domain. I just think this is the way that it is going to work now. We are just going to continue to become more and more skeptical of anything that comes from that standard @gmail.com. So that is my advice for you today. That was one of the dozen trends that I taught in the 2026 marketing trends class. And again, if you want to go back and get that entire class, you can pick that up at VOpreneur.com. Just click on the store button and you'll see it there. But that one I think was so important that I wanted to bring it out. I wanted to share it with everybody. So this is Free Advice Friday, which means I am here to answer your voiceover business and marketing questions. If there is a question that you would like to ask and get answered, please don't be shy. This is your opportunity. All I would ask is if you have a question, when you type it into the comments, if you could just put a Q beside it. That way it stands out from all of the other comments that are going on. Makes it a little bit easier for me to find. But I am here to absolutely answer as many questions as I can today. So don't be shy. While everybody else is learning at VO Atlanta, we can be here learning as well, and there's no reason for us to miss out on another great educational opportunity, or at least that's my philosophy. So I've had my Gmail address since 2004. I'm working on my new website now, and I'm so glad I'll have my domain address. And that's it. I mean, if you've had a Gmail address for a really long time, and there are people who have had a lot of success with those Gmail addresses. The problem now is when you're reaching out to new people who aren't familiar with you, those people are going to be skeptical. So keep your Gmail address and forward it to your new email, or like I said, keep your Gmail address and use it for the promotional and marketing type stuff for yourself. This is what I'm going to use to sign up to get information about classes or educational opportunities, whatever. But definitely, I think it's time to have the @domain, whatever your domain is. But I've heard so many people use Google Workspace. It's just easy. It's so easy. You get it set up. You can log into Gmail. You can then use the Gmail app on your phone. You can log in through your browser to Gmail. You can set up the email address through, Outlook or Apple Mail or, whatever software you're using to check your email. It works seamlessly, integrates beautifully with Nimble. You can have Nimble actually appear right inside of your Gmail inbox, which is absolutely fantastic as well. And so that is the direction where I think things need to be going. But again, that is my advice on that particular marketing trend. Briscoe says, I'm sure you've said this before, but do you track your auditions or just your bookings? So I have been tracking my auditions on Voice123, but the only reason why I have been tracking my auditions on Voice123 is just to try to determine the connection between the number of auditions, the number of likes, the number of bookings, the number of opens, all of that sort of stuff. So I do have a spreadsheet that I've been using. Every time I do an audition on Voice123, I put it into the spreadsheet. And then I have that spreadsheet, and I used ChatGPT to build this for me. So it ties into a dashboard where I can then see what is my audition to like ratio, what is my audition to booking ratio, that whole thing. What is my average rate per booking and all of that sort of stuff. So I do track those auditions. In Nimble, I track auditions that I am doing directly with my clients. So somebody that reaches out to me directly to book me. And the reason why I'm tracking those is I want to stay on top of what I've got out there. And I want to be able to follow up with somebody and see where things are going. And then I'm not tracking my agent auditions, only just because there's nothing I can do about those ones anyway. So, could you track them for the sole purpose of knowing my agent sent me X number of auditions this year and that turned into X number of callbacks or X number of bookings or whatever? Sure, there's a case to be made for that. But I'm not actively tracking those auditions because I can't really do anything. I can't follow up with them or anything like that. So in my CRM, I am currently and have always tracked the auditions that I am doing directly with my clients. But then I'm using the spreadsheet for Voice123, really just for research purposes more than anything. Once I've got a general sense of where I am, would I continue to use that spreadsheet forever? I don't know. I mean, I guess maybe there's something to be said, but here's what I can tell you. I can tell you that when I had a 1 in 3 audition to like ratio, that got me into the top 20%. When I went to a 1 in 4 audition to like ratio, that dropped me back to the top 30%. So that's a pretty tight ratio. I never did. I have not yet made it into the top 10. I don't know what you have to do to make it into the top 10. I mean, I was 1 in 3 audition to like with a 1 in 17 booking rate, and that never got me any higher than the top 20 percentile. So I like I said, I don't know what you got to do there, but it's just interesting to see those numbers because I think that can be helpful for you as well as far as research purposes and maybe making some decisions about projects that you're going to audition for or potentially not audition for as well. Matt says, Marc, I'll be on the hunt for a voiceover business and marketing coach in the coming weeks. If you were in the same boat as I, what would you look for deciding on a coach? Really, I think it depends a lot on what you need. I have different offerings myself for different people in different levels, right? I have different courses that speak to different needs, but then I also have private coaching to do things that are a little bit more generic. There are a lot of great marketing coaches that are out there. So, there are certainly options. You have options. Thom Deere is a great marketing coach. Ann Ganguza offers marketing programs as well. I'm going to pay attention to reputation. Just because somebody sells something doesn't mean that it's good. Just because somebody sells something doesn't mean that it's worth it. So I would certainly be paying attention to that as well. And are there testimonials or are there people that you can speak to or referrals or anything like that? I think there's value in that. If you want to have a consultation with me, you can do that. Head to the website, VOpreneur.com. You can book a 15-minute consultation with me. I'm happy to have a conversation with you, just like free 15-minute consultation, just to get a sense of where you're at, what you need. And then I can say, you know what, I can help you and here's how, or nope, I'm not the guy, but let me refer you to this person or that person or whatever. And that's why I do those consultations. So that may be something that you want to think about as well. Do you know why Voice123 will post domestic jobs at 2, 3, or 4 o'clock in the morning and then give a 9-hour window? Yeah, so what's going on there? If you look in the details of the job, you can see what group you were invited in. So let me pull up one of these projects. So I'm just going to go to my Voice123 right now. Let's just do this. I'm going to go to my Voice123 right now. So here, the mining project. So I received this one 2 hours ago. But if you click over here, invitations, now it won't load. There you go. So you can see I was invited on this job in group 1, which, by the way, almost never happens. Like literally almost never happens. Let's find another one down here. What's one that came in? Okay, this one came in 8 hours ago. So invitations. So you can see on this one, in this one, I was invited in invitation group 2. Even invitation group 2 is pretty good. I don't typically get invited that early in some of these either. But the point here is if you look at so this one, I was invited in invitation group 5. So the further down the line you are, that is going to be a big determining factor in what time you're going to get those auditions. So if Bob posts a job at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, Eastern time, invitation group 1 will get it at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Invitation group 2, they might get it a couple hours later. We'll call it 5 o'clock. Invitation group 3, they might get it a few hours later. We'll call it 8 o'clock. Invitation group 4 might get it a few hours later. We'll say 11 o'clock. Invitation group 5, they get it a few hours later. We'll call it 2 o'clock. So the later group that you are being invited in, that's going to be one of the deciding factors. So everybody doesn't get it at the same time. It's based on what group you were invited in. Now, your invitation group is determined by your profile. And do you have the keywords and do you match the specs? How well do you match the specs? And it is also a factor in your percentile ranking. So if you are in the top 50%, you're going to consistently get booked in later groups. If you're in the top 30%, you'll get a little bit better. If you're in the top 20%, you get a little bit better still. And if you're in the top 10%, you're probably going to pretty consistently be invited in the first 2 or 3 groups. That's my understanding of it. So if you are consistently seeing projects that you are being invited to in the middle of the night, chances are you either do not have an optimized profile, so you're not getting fully matched with every job, or you are in a lower percentile ranking. So as soon as I slipped from the top 20 to the top 30, I started getting a lot more overnight invitations. There seems to be a pretty big cutoff there from the top 20 to the top 30. Top 20%, most of my auditions were coming during the day. Top 30%, it went back to most of my auditions were coming in the overnight hours. And so I think that's one of the big things. Jeff says, what do you consider to be the most productive or useful pay-to-play site? Oh, tricky question. A lot of people aren't going to like the answer to this. I'm probably going to catch some flack for this. But if you want to speak strictly on user friendliness and usability, I would probably say voices.com. There's a couple of reasons why. Stay with me before you get angry. 1, everybody pays the same rate. There's no tiers. You don't get to pay for earlier access or better access or more access. Everybody pays the exact same rate. 2, the algorithm levels the playing field. There is an algorithm. It is a factor, but it levels the playing field because as long as you are doing the things that you need to do to your profile, optimizing it, getting more clips, having more matches, et cetera, you can win on that site. Voice123, you can win on that site if you pay $6,000 a year. You can kind of win on that site if you pay $2,200 a year. You are much less likely to win if you're paying $495 a year. And that's just, when you have tiered membership, you have to tilt the scales to those tiers. Otherwise, you have no value proposition for the tiered membership. Now, that does not mean Voice123 is bad or evil or the enemy or whatever. I'm just saying from a user-friendly standpoint, there's a lot more nuance to Voice123. You have to understand the algorithm. You have to have the optimized profile. You are at the mercy of getting those likes. If you submit amazing auditions, but you don't get liked because the people who are listening to them just don't use that feature, you get punished. And it's not necessarily fair, but it's just the way the site works. That sort of stuff it's not really as much of a factor on voices.com. Now, does voices.com have their drawbacks? Absolutely. And we don't need to rehash all that. But you can pay your fee. You can audition as much as you want. You're going to see all of the auditions that are available that match to you. From a user-friendly standpoint, strictly speaking, I think voices.com probably has the edge on that one. Let's see. How should I determine which VO conference to attend? There are so many. I'm in Dallas, so One Voice would be easiest, but what's the good litmus test? Well, VO Atlanta is the biggest, and it is the biggest by a fairly wide margin. There's 1,000 voice actors that are going to VO Atlanta. At any given time, there's probably 7 or 8 different things going on the schedule, and that schedule runs from Thursday to Sunday. Like, it's a packed conference. Everybody who is everybody, for the most part, you're going to see the best casting directors. You're going to see the best agents. Like, all the people that you want to get in front of are probably going to be at VO Atlanta. Now, One Voice, fantastic conference, incredible speaker lineup, probably about half the size, maybe a little bit smaller. And so there's advantages to that. There's advantages to having smaller session sizes, smaller groups, more access, higher probability of running into people in the hallway, and all of that sort of stuff. And then you look at a conference like MAVO, which is probably half the size of One Voice. And again, incredible lineup of speakers that go to MAVO. But when you're in a session at MAVO, you could be one of 10 people in the room, one of 20 people in the room. And so there's a much better chance that you're going to get your questions answered, or that you're going to have, if you're in a session where there's an opportunity to get up in front of the mic and read, there might be a better chance that you're going to be able to get to do that. And so I think there's conferences for all the different levels. I think MAVO, One Voice, VO Atlanta, I think they have things for everyone. Vocation, another amazing conference, totally different value proposition, focuses much more on the business and marketing side of things. Sovis is another conference, that's voiceover, which is done with Sovis, is another conference. Like, there's lots of different options that are out there. Really what I think it comes down to is you have to determine what is my objective for this conference, and am I going to achieve that objective based on the lineup, right? So if your objective is, I want to go crush it in promo, and you look at the lineup for VO Atlanta and you see that there are some really amazing promo coaches and a couple of really amazing promo agents there, then you can meet your objective at VO Atlanta. And you don't even have to do all of the other stuff that's going on. You could just go and focus on that one thing. For some people, the idea of Atlanta feels overwhelming. It's 1,000 people, and it can be really intimidating. There's a lot going on. And so the boutique nature of a conference like MAVO has more of an appeal, right? So I don't think there's any bad conferences. I think it's just, you got to figure out what you need and what works for you, and then build your schedule and make your plan around that. How are your Sox looking this year? What's your win projection? I know we won yesterday. I know that. Look, I'm having a hard time keeping up with them this year. I have a little bit of a beef with MLB. 2 years ago, I had the MLB app, and I think it cost me $99 for the entire year. And then, but then they started, and that was supposed to get me all the games, right? But then now YouTube's got games, and Apple has games, and now Netflix has games. And so I was paying this money, but I was getting access to fewer games because all of these other partners had exclusive rights to games. Well, then last year the price went from $99 to $149. I'm like, why am I going to pay more money for fewer games? And so I didn't do it, but I missed it a lot. I missed being able to watch all the games. Well, this year the price has gone to $199. So it's gone up another $50, and there's even still fewer games because there's so many different partners. And so when the game is streaming on Apple or YouTube or whatever, you can't watch it on the MLB app. And I'm like, so you keep jacking up your prices while offering less and less and less. And the problem is that makes it harder for me to keep up with the Red Sox, which has been very disappointing. So, I mean, I get alerts in my Apple News app and stuff like that, and I'm trying to pay attention to what's going on, but I just don't have access to watch the games unless they're on like a Sunday Night Baseball, or they're playing the Blue Jays or whatever. I'm gonna miss it. It's hard. I miss it. I want to go to Fenway this year. I really want to go to Fenway this year. Carol says, I was just looking at my V123 invitations. How are you seeing the group in which you got the invitation? I don't see that info. Okay, let me just bring this up again very quickly. So if you go to your invitations, okay, so Texas Voice for an Explainer video. I didn't submit for this because I don't match, but here's the specs, right? But if you click over here, invitations, and you can see I was invited in invitation group 3. There it is right there. And that group included 45 pro members and 1 starter member. So that's how you see it. On any audition, if you click on it, click the audition, click over here where it says invitation, and there you go. In this one, I was invitation group 3, and that included 43 pro members, which is the top 10% of pro voice actors, apparently. So yeah, that's how you can see what group you're getting the invitations in. I have technically never booked a job on Voice123. I've booked work there, but they've taken me off the site each time. So one of the things that I have done is when a client wants to book me, obviously I have no problem if they want to take me off platform, but there is a booking link that you can use with Voice123, and I've been able to convince clients to use that. And so it does show that I've had the bookings, but that is one of the flaws with the platform. If you book the job and they take you off the platform and you don't get credit for that job on the platform, then it actually is a negative towards you. Which, like, imagine a scenario where you book the job, complete the job, the client is entirely satisfied and pays you money, but it actually is a negative against your Voice123 profile because of the fact that that now looks like an audition that did not produce a result. It's crazy. This is one of the reasons why people get so frustrated with the platform. All right, let's see what else is going on. Again, if you have a question that you would like to ask for Free Advice Friday, don't be shy. I would love to hear your questions. I would love to answer as many questions as I can. So type your questions in the comments. Just put that Q beside it, and it makes me it makes it a little bit easier for me to see when it is popping out in the chat when the chat is getting busy. But let's see. What do you want to talk about? What's going on for Free Advice Friday? By the way, while you guys are getting ready to ask questions, I have to ask you something. Did you catch the latest episode of the podcast? Absolutely brilliant conversation with Thom Pinto. Check this out. What makes a good storyteller?
But I think we need to take a leap of faith.
So as part of that, just figuring out where you fit.
It's your audience to lose.
What are some of the mistakes that we're making as storytellers?
If I'm starting to fall asleep a little bit, then that narrator is not doing their job.
Has storytelling changed?
We lean into what we don't know, and we can learn.
Loved having the opportunity to sit down and coach with Thom. Chat with Thom, rather. I coached with Thom for a year when I was getting ready for my documentary demo. Brilliant coach. Lots of great stories. One of the living legends of our industry for sure. So if you haven't had a chance to listen to that one yet, it is available here on the YouTube channel, so you can look it up and watch it. Or, of course, it is available wherever fine podcasts are given away for free. So you can check that out as well. All right, let's see. What is your summertime marketing strategy? Where are you focusing most during that time of the year? I just keep marketing all the way through. And I know a lot of people say, why bother? Yes, people do go on vacation. Most people do not go on vacation for the entire summer. So there's that. Work still happens all throughout the summer. I think that we use it as a convenient excuse to give up. But I'm kind of status quo, like business as usual. Obviously, if I'm away, I'm not marketing as much if I'm away, but I might still leave my sequences running, but by and large, I'm just treating it like any other time of the year. Now, the one difference is I do pay attention to autoresponders. So if I get an autoresponder from somebody that says that they are out of the office or that they are on vacation, I can make a note of that in my CRM, and then I can reach out to them maybe a week after it says that they're getting back, right? I'm not going to reach out to them the day they return or the day after they return. They're going to have a backlog of emails to work their way through, but I might reach out to them with a quick follow-up a week after, maybe ask them how their trip was. And so I take advantage of those types of things. But by and large, I'm still marketing just as I've always marketed during the summer, because I really think that There's work still happening. What about Backstage? I've received a lot of auditions on that site, but it seems to be more acting. I signed up for Backstage a couple of months ago because of the fact that I was targeted with an ad for a large documentary project that was booking, and they were looking specifically for Canadian voice actors, and it was booking in my area. So I signed up because it cost me like whatever. I think it was like $80 to sign up for the entire year or something like that. I have submitted a few auditions there, but by and large, that site does not feel like it's worth it to me. I haven't been on it in a couple of weeks, but there seems to be a lot of low budget stuff and definitely a lot of acting stuff, a lot of foreign language stuff, like a lot of outside of the country and stuff like that. So to me, not seeing a ton of value there at this point, but like I said, I only signed up for it just for that one particular project that I wanted to be able to submit for. Do you submit your podcast for award consideration? I have never submitted the podcast for an award consideration. I honestly, it's something that I never really think about. I know, I believe anyway, that Sovis has a podcast category. People have asked me to submit. People have suggested submitting for that in the past, but at that point in time, that was literally like the Chuck and Stacy Award. Like every year, Chuck and Stacy won, and I was like, "Why am I going to spend $100 to submit my podcast for the Chuck and Stacy Award?" And I don't mean that in a negative way. Like obviously, they are legends; their podcast is incredible, and I can't really compete with that at all. So I never even bothered, and now it's just something that I don't think about. Maybe I should. All right, let's see. What else is going on? If you completed a job on V123 yet didn't get a review after asking, got any persuasive verbiage to follow up? Testimonial, ask. I think part of the reason why people use that site is just because of the sheer ease of use. I post my project, voice actors audition, I choose the one I want, they give me the work. I don't think a lot of them want to, I don't think they don't go to that site so they can jump through all these extra hoops. Now you want me to book you through the site? Now you want me to like your audition? Now you want me to leave a review or whatever? Like I have no reviews on my profile, which I think is actually a negative towards my profile. But at the same time, it's like, what am I going to do? I can't force people to give me reviews. So I do ask if they're willing, but I don't know that there's anything that you can do to force them. And I think for a lot of people, it's just because I get the sense that that's not the kind of user that's on the site. Same thing with the likes and the bookings. It's really hard. And that's one of the reasons why the site can be really frustrating. Do you have a preferred payment option? I have several because we pretty much have to, but funneling everything through one platform is much easier to maintain. I will accept direct deposit. I will accept credit card through Stripe, and I will accept PayPal. I mean, at the end of the day, I'll accept whatever they want me to. I don't use I know Wise is one of the services that a lot of people talk about. I had tried to set up Wise once a bunch of years ago and found it painfully confusing. And so I just quit. I just gave up. My understanding is that it's easier now, but I have been actively trying to get more and more of my clients to do the direct deposit thing. And most of them are on board with that. So for the last year or so, the vast majority of my payments have actually been through direct deposit. And I have two bank accounts. I have a Canadian bank account and I have a US bank account. So I can get direct deposit from Canadian clients in Canadian dollars. I can get direct deposit from US clients in US dollars. But I still offer on Stripe, I can accept credit card, and I will accept credit card in any currency. I mean, I say any currency. I have accepted credit card payment in Canadian dollars, US dollars, in euros, and in pounds. So I'm set up to be able to do that. And then if there's something really obscure, I mean, I will do PayPal. I'll be honest though, I actively am trying to move away from PayPal as much as possible. And the biggest reason for that is it's not the fees. Everybody thinks it's the fees. The biggest reason for me is the exchange rate. They are brutal with the exchange rate. Usually they take about 2 cents on the dollar more than what the bank or Stripe does. And that adds up very quickly over the long term. So for that reason, I've been moving away from PayPal as much as possible. And at this point, I only have 1 or 2 clients that still insist on paying me that way. And whatever. I mean, if that's what, at the end of the day, I just need to get paid, right? So I don't, if that's what they want, I'm not sweating it. But yeah, getting the direct deposit thing set up has honestly been one of the easiest things for me. And so many of your clients are already going to be set up for it. They're already doing direct deposit for their employees. So once they've got your information and put you in the system, it's really easy for them to do. I'm having a tough time getting enough at bats to pick my profile back up out of the lower end. Voice123 is definitely a tough grind, considering upping the tier, but I need that ROI at some point. Yeah, Tony, this was my struggle. When I signed up at 888, and they started me in the 50th percentile, and it took me a couple of months. I went from October to December trying to get myself out of the basement. I managed to go from the 50th percentile to the 40th percentile, but the big reason was exactly what you said. Because I was in the 50th percentile, all of my auditions were coming in the overnight hours, and by the time I got into the studio in the morning, the vast majority of those auditions were closed and no longer available, and so I could not get myself out of the basement. So in December, I bumped myself up to the 2200 tier. I did start seeing a few more auditions, but I was still getting a lot of those auditions in the overnight hours, and that's when I realized that the correlation isn't exclusively to how much you spend, it's also to what percent ranking you are in. And so I grounded out for about a month and a half, and finally worked my way into the top 20th percentile. But then I got sick for a couple of weeks and I wasn't able to submit some stuff. And then I've slipped back to the 30th percentile, and now I'm struggling again to find audition opportunities. Like I have not, let me see. What did I submit? Submitted. So this week I've only submitted 2. Last week I submitted 3. The week before that I submitted 2. Like there hasn't been a lot for me to submit to. And I mean, I'm obviously trying to be really choosy as well because I want to maintain my audition to like ratio. But that is definitely tough as well. I don't audition on Voice123. I've optimized my profile. I'm getting direct messages. And see, I have my profile is fully and completely optimized. And Voice123 has acknowledged that it is fully and completely optimized. And I have been on there since October, and I have received 1 direct invite. So that seems to be, I mean, I've talked to some other people who say they get most of their work through direct invitations. Hasn't worked for me yet. Still trying to crack that nut. If it says you are in the top 20% of voice actors, does it mean overall or in your group? I believe it means overall. I could be wrong on that. That's actually an interesting question, but I'm pretty sure that it means overall. Again, if you guys have a question for Free Advice Friday, by all means, type it in the comments. I'm happy to answer as many questions as I can. I want to tell you about this quickly. April, I'm going to be running the 100 Leads Challenge. So this is running from April 1st to the 15th. The goal of this challenge is simple. By April 15th, I want you to have 100 new leads in your CRM or in a spreadsheet, whatever you use, that you can start marketing to. Every day of the challenge, I'm going to show you a different way to find leads. So there is a learning component there, but a big part of this is just simply accountability. It's accountability to show up and do the thing. You're never going to have to do more than 10 leads on a given day, which in most instances should not take you any more than 30 minutes. And with some of the things that I show you, I think you'll see that you can do it even quicker than that. This is not a marketing challenge per se. This is a find leads. I'm going to teach you different places to look and how to get those leads so that you can build up your list. And we're going to do it from April 1st to the 15th. So there's still time to sign up. I think the more voice actors that we have doing it, the more fun. This is an accountability thing. I literally built this challenge for my own accountability. So I'm working on my JMC commercial demo. I got the first draft of it back 2 weeks ago. I wanted to change out one spot, but I was sick and I couldn't do it. So I just sent JMC some audio yesterday or 2 days ago. Obviously, he's at VO Atlanta now, so we're going to be in a little bit of a delay. But the idea here is I need to get some new commercial leads to market my new commercial demo to. And so I thought, hey, if I'm going to be doing this anyway, why not do it with everybody else? That creates accountability for me, right? I have to show up every day now and do this because I have to show you guys how to do what I'm doing. And so you get some accountability in there as well. So for $30 to get the accountability and to have the opportunity to put 100 new leads into your database, I think it's a pretty good proposition. So that's the 100 Leads Challenge. Let me put the link in the chat here if you're interested. Again, every day there will be a video that will be posted in the challenge, and you will be able to watch that video and learn about whatever strategy I'm using on that given day to find leads. Here's something else. When you sign up for this challenge, which is $30, you will immediately receive my 40 job titles guide, which is worth $27. So basically this challenge costs you $3, right? Because you're signing up for 30, but I'm giving you a free $27 resource for free. So that guide has 40 different job titles that you should be marketing to. So there you go. You've already won. Each day of the challenge, I'll be drawing for prizes. So at random, everybody who completes the challenge on any given day is going to have a chance to win my VOpreneur subject line guide. Again, $27 resource. And whoever has accumulated the most points in the challenge at the end of the 15 days is going to receive a copy of my Follow-Up Academy Masterclass, which is worth $147. So look, you're going to get leads. You're going to get a free guide as soon as you get those leads, which basically offsets the course of the cost of the course. And then you're going to have chances to win all throughout. Like, there's a lot of value packed into this. So if you haven't checked it out yet, head to VOpreneur.com, click on the store button, and you'll see the 100 Leads Challenge, or you can click the link that I just put into the chat, and you can sign up through there as well. What genres are those leads in for this challenge? It's going to be up to you to find whatever leads you want. I'm going to show you some of the different places where I'm looking for leads, but ultimately you could turn that into, like, if you want to do commercial, if you want to do e-learning, if you want to do gaming, if you want to do medical, whatever, you will get to decide. I'm just going to show you some of the strategies that I'm using to actually find the leads. And then you will be able to take that and use it how you want. And I think that's also where the 40 job titles guide comes in handy, because that'll give you some ideas of some different job titles to be looking to as well as you're trying to figure out who to market to. I know it's been a while, but how is our favorite little bean doing? She is back to normal, back to normal, which was very good. We had a scary stretch there a couple weeks ago. She was really sick. We spent 3 days in the children's hospital with her. She was on oxygen and on IV and antibiotics and steroid puffers and all kinds of stuff. It was one of the most stressful experiences of Daddy's life. That's probably where, I think that's where these gray hairs maybe came from. But yeah, she is fully healthy and back to normal again, which is fantastic. You might have answered this already, but what's your estimate of the daily time commitment for the Daily Leads Challenge? I don't think it should take any more than 30 minutes. Now, keep in mind, for this challenge, what we are doing is simply collecting leads. If you want to market to them right away, obviously you can do that. But the purpose of this particular challenge is just let's find leads. Let's get people in the pipeline. And so I don't think that it should take any more than 30 minutes a day to do this. And in fact, I recorded a video today for one of the challenges. And if you do exactly what I showed in the video that I recorded today, within a couple of minutes, you could have 30 or 40 leads. So you'll see there's ways that this is going to be easy. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm saying is plan for 30 minutes a day, but I don't think it's going to take a whole lot more than that. Where you might spend a little bit of extra time, obviously, this is happening through the VOpreneur system. There's a challenge board set up, like an online challenge board. So you'll be able to log in. You'll be able to watch the video every day. There will be opportunities to comment and interact with other people who are participating in the challenge. And so you might spend some extra time doing stuff like that. And that's how you accumulate points, by the way. But to find the leads itself, yeah, I can't imagine taking any more than 30 minutes a day. All right, let's see. What else? What can I answer for you guys? What questions do you have for Free Advice Friday? I've missed you guys. What percentage of your income is the result of P2P versus local recurring clients you've reached by direct email? Right now, my P2P is $600. No, wait. 650? It's either 600 or 650. Not booking a ton because I'm not auditioning a ton, because I'm trying to be really strategic about what I'm auditioning for. And obviously, as I mentioned, spending the first several months in the basement and not having a lot of auditions to submit for did not help. But yeah, I am not relying on pay to play for my income at this point. Just to be clear, there are other people who are doing a lot better on pay to plays than I am, obviously. Most of the people that I have had conversations with who are doing better on Voice123, though, are the people who are at the elite level, which is it $5,000 or $6,000? I think $5,000 or $6,000 for the year. And just to be clear, I do not think that anybody can just go and sign up for the elite level and win. First off, there's a limited number of people who are allowed to do it anyway. But I think that you do have to be a top level voice actor. You can't just pay $5,000 a year. You can't just pay $5,000 a year and be like, oh, I'm going to start making money on Voice123 now. You've got to be able to deliver the goods. But it's definitely a lot easier if you are a good voice actor, great voice actor at that level. You're probably going to make pretty good money. Do you have an agent or several? Yes. Currently, I have 2. I had 3. One of them shuttered the business, so I currently have 2. But that's one of the goals with my new commercial demo is hoping to pick up at least maybe another couple. I would love to get at least 2 more. All right. What else, guys? If I have missed your question, I apologize. I am certainly not trying to miss any questions. There's a lot going on in the chat. Will there be any video attached with the lead challenge? Yeah. So the way it works, actually, you know what? Let me do this. I can show you what one of these looks like. Okay. So I'm still building out the whole thing. It's not quite done yet, but you'll go into the community and you'll click on challenges. So you can see here, these are all the challenges. I'm still getting all of them built out, but every day there's another challenge with another video. So if you go to welcome to the leads challenge, you can see here, this is just the introduction to what the leads challenge is. Everybody will have the ability to comment, right? But if you go to day 1, this is a video. So you'll be able to watch the video, and then there's some instructions for the challenge, and that's the way it will work every single day. So each day there will be a video, and that video will give you I will share my screen in most of those videos and show you exactly what I'm doing to find leads on that particular day. So that is the way that it works. Is marketing overseas much different than in North America? If so, can you elaborate on some of those differences? This is a really interesting question because I've heard 2 different trains of thought on this. I've heard one, yes, it is very different. But then I would also say that I'm doing mostly the same things overseas that I'm doing here, and I'm able to make it work. I think the most important thing you have to remember and take into consideration is time zones. First and foremost, you have to make sure that you are sending the emails at the right time of the day. That is essential. I think the second most important thing that you have to be paying attention to is the calendar. 4th of July is an American holiday. It's not a European holiday, but there are holidays in Europe that are not American holidays. And so you've got to pay attention to those types of things. When do they celebrate Christmas? When do they celebrate Thanksgiving? Do they celebrate Christmas? Do they celebrate Thanksgiving? Do they celebrate something else? Like paying attention to the calendar and paying attention to the time zones. I think those are really important. I think there are cultural nuances every once in a while. I think you'll get a sense of rates. Obviously, rates are going to vary from country to country. The GVAA rate guide, just FYI, by and large, the GVAA rate guide means squat overseas. Because the GVAA rate guide, even though it's the Global Voice Acting Academy, that is very much a US-based rate guide for US-based voiceover work. And some will argue, well, I'm a US-based voice actor. Yes, but if you're a US-based voice actor working in Spain, it doesn't matter that you're a US-based voice actor because you're working with a company in Spain, and what matters is what the rate is in Spain. Just like the rates in Canada are different from the rates in the US because countries are different, economies are different, dollar values are different. All of these things are nuances that you have to understand. And so that is definitely something that you need to be paying attention to. I've heard that you can have better luck in certain countries with, using WhatsApp, for example, over using email. I still use email by and large. Have I had a couple of times in the past where the client has asked to communicate via WhatsApp? I think once or twice, maybe. But by and large, we're still using email. I think the approach is still similar in that you want to make the email a little bit more personalized. It needs to be targeted. And so I don't know that I wouldn't say that there are overarching rules of this is different or you have to do this way, as much as I would say it's some of those other more logistical things of time zones, calendars, holidays, rates, things of that nature. Who do you currently look up to now in terms of where you want to see yourself in your career wise? I was deeply inspired by Ryder when I watched him do the keynote at Mavo. I thought it was brilliant. And having the opportunity to have him on the podcast and have a conversation with him, I was definitely inspired by Ryder. I look at what Thom Pinto has done and I'm like, man, I want to have those opportunities. My end goal is to be Mike Rowe, minus the whole dirty jobs thing. I'm not equipped for that. Although I did work on a septic truck when I was in high school. And I did work on a lot of farms and did a lot of dirty jobs on farms. But I just mean Mike Rowe is like the voice of so many networks, right? Discovery Channel documentaries, ID documentaries. I think he does some National Geographic stuff. Like I want to be that guy. I want to have those opportunities and that access. I want to do TV narration. So that's somebody that I greatly admire and have studied a little bit. I've listened to some interviews that he's given, some long form interviews that he's given. I've read one of the books that he's written, trying to get a sense of, what can I glean from this? But yeah, those are a couple of the people that I think I just, I want to, I have to be very cautious of getting caught in the comparison trap too, right? Everybody's got their own journey. Everybody's got to follow their own path, and what mine looks like will be different from somebody else's. But that said, I still think that there are people that I look up to and think, man, what do I got to do to be more like that guy? Likely best to be synchronous with your leads challenge, huh? I'll be traveling, but it looks super. I already have FOMO. Would it be easier to be able to do it every day? I suppose. Is it essential that you do it every day? No. The goal is just by the time that we're done. So originally what I wanted to do was it was going to be 100 leads in 10 days, 10 leads a day. But I recognize that not everybody's going to work on the weekends. And I don't think everybody should have to work on the weekends. And so that's why it became a 15-day challenge, because you're not going to have to go out and find leads on Saturdays and Sundays, for example. But if you end up with a really busy day, maybe you book some sessions, you miss a day in the studio, could you use a Saturday or Sunday to catch up Of course you could. Really, at the end of the day, what it's all about is by the time we get to April 15th, did you put 100 leads in your CRM? That's it, right? And the only person that is ultimately going to be able to judge that is you, right? I'm not going to sit here and look at everybody's CRM or make you provide me a list to prove that you did it or whatever. It's ultimately it's up to each of the individuals. But, the idea behind it would be break it up into 10 days, make it a little bit easier, bite-sized. But, if you can't do it for a few days, could you catch up on the weekend and, put 20 or 30 leads in your database on a Saturday and still be in alignment with the challenge? 100% you could be. What is your marketing strategy for marketing to previous and existing clients? Previous and existing clients, hopefully, I have some kind of a relationship with, and so that makes it a little bit easier. Um, Reaching out via email every once in a while, just checking in, following up on projects that we've worked on. That's one of the things that I like to do. As I get to know clients, it makes it a little bit easier because I might have specific things to reach out to them to. I might reach out to somebody and ask a question about the Red Sox or, depending on what I know about them or what I understand about them. So I keep notes on some of those little personal things as well. I also really think that social media is a big factor here. I think it's really easy to engage with people, on Instagram or on LinkedIn or whatever form of social media they might be using. The biggest thing is just keeping myself top of mind. That's really what it's all about, is keeping myself top of mind. But honestly, the number one marketing strategy for existing clients is customer service. I really think that's the number one. If you are awesome to work with, that's all it takes sometimes. Like really legitimately, that is all it takes. I picked up a new client last week off of a referral, and I didn't even know the referral had been made. So one of my clients referred me to one of their clients who then reached out to me directly. And that referral was 100% a byproduct of just being easy to work with. It was being quick to reply. It was always sending great audio. It was never giving them a hassle about, hey, can we change this line? Or would you mind reading this? Or would you mind tweaking this the way you said this or whatever? Like just being really easy to work with, which seems like a no-brainer, but it's not. It's one of the things that I have learned in this industry that boggles my mind to no end. The number of voice actors who are a pain in the butt to work with. And I don't know if it's like an entitlement thing or what, but it's like, I am an actor. And they nickel and dime for everything, and they hassle and they take their time to respond. And I don't want to respond. I don't want to respond to them immediately, because if I respond immediately, they won't think that I'm busy. They are not thinking that intimately about you. When I respond to somebody immediately, the first thing on their mind is, oh, wow, this guy really cares. It's not, oh, this guy must be sitting around with nothing to do, and that's why he responded so fast. Like, it's the most ridiculous line of thinking that I've ever heard, but I hear it all the time. Oh, no, I make my clients wait at least 24 or 48 hours before I ever respond. I'm like, perfect. I'm going to poach every one of your stinking clients because I'm going to respond to them in 2 hours. Like, I really genuinely believe that customer service is one of the best marketing tools that you have, and it is extremely effective with clients, because one of my mantras that I repeat over and over and over again is happy clients are repeat clients, and they will tell their friends. Happy clients are repeat clients, and they will tell their friends. Ever tried audiobooks? Seems like a lot of work for a modest paycheck. I have avoided audiobooks like the plague for a very long time, partly due to pay, but also just due to availability. Just the amount of time that it takes to do an audiobook and the limited amount of time that I have available to do something like that. That being said, I recently started auditioning for audiobooks for one particular publishing label. And the only reason why is because it is a nonfiction publishing label in the exact line of book that I read. I am an avid reader. I literally read like 2 to 4 books a month at minimum every month. And they are all nonfiction, and they are all business, marketing, entrepreneur, biographies of of entrepreneurs and all of that sort of stuff. And this publishing label is right in that vein. And so I'm like, hey, I would read these books anyway. So maybe it would be worth exploring and potentially getting paid for it. So I have started auditioning for one particular company that works for this one particular label. But outside of that, I have mostly avoided the audiobook space. I have massive respect for audiobook narrators. And I've admitted, like, I'm a little bit intimidated when I'm going to book one of these things eventually, and I'm going to have to do it. And I'm like, holy crap, I hope that I can actually, I hope I can do it. I hope I have the stamina to get through it. So I have massive respect for the genre, but yeah, it's something that I've always been a little bit leery of myself, just because of time commitments more than anything. But are there a lot of audiobooks that are out there very much on the low end? Yes. Are there audiobooks out there that are paying a respectable per finished hour rate? 100%. You just have to find those right opportunities, get in the right places to get access to those right opportunities. All right, guys, I got to go. I got some stuff to do this afternoon. But thank you for joining me for Free Advice Friday. As always, I certainly appreciate it. For those of you who are interested, remember the 100 Leads Challenge is starting on April the 1st. That is going to run from April 1st to the 15th. $30 for the accountability and access to information that is going to teach you how to put leads in your pipeline. And by the way, this lead challenge runs for 15 days, but the idea here is when you're done, you can now go out and repeat this over and over and over again. Put 10 leads in your database every day. It's doable, absolutely doable. And you can grow your database pretty significantly. So for $30, I think it's money well spent. Head to VOpreneur.com, click on the store button. You'll see it there. The link is also in the chat, but I would love to have you participate in that leads challenge. And don't forget to check out the latest episode of the podcast with Thom Pinto. Absolutely brilliant conversation. Next week on the show, Paul Cartwright. Sorry, Paul Cartwright is going to be on the show next week. And that episode actually went in an entirely different direction from what I had prepared for. And it ended up being one of the favorite conversations that I've had on the show in a while. So keep an eye out for that one coming up as well. All right, everyone. As always, whatever you decide to do this weekend, have fun, stay safe, and go find some leads.